I wanted to find out the value of my full 3DS collection. So we're going to be looking at each title today. There are over 150 physical games here. We'll give a full total at the end of the video of how many titles and the value based on pricecharting.com. There are special big box editions, steelbooks, they'll all be shown at the end of the video. So let's head over to the table and get things started. Okay, so the first game up we have is Seventh Dragon. This one I got just before the prices started to really rise on it. I haven't got a chance to get around to play it yet. This one is complete in box, and on price charting at the moment the total value of this currently is £99.46 in the UK. I actually have 2 copies of this, so it's Ace Combat, Assault Horizon Legacy. So I have this version, and I have another version, which is the Plus version you can see here. So this one included special aircraft skins that were Nintendo related. I think you can see them here, so they're like Mario skins, things like that. It's getting a little bit more expensive now, so the non-plus edition, £23.15, and the plus edition is, let me see, it's £34.04 for that one. So there's a few different Spider-Man titles on 3DS. This is the only one that I have so far. The Amazing Spider-Man is worth around £15 on price charting, and that one's complete in box as well. This one is still sealed. Andro Dunos 2. So this is actually a recent release. It's one of the last releases for the 3DS, done by Pixel Heart, which is a European company here. It's a numbered release. Let me see if mine has the number on it. Yeah, there it is. So 2,622 of 6,000. I believe that's European copies. There is another run for copies for the United States, I believe, as well. This game is available on Switch, and I think other modern consoles as well. So it's a shoot 'em up game, shooter. As you can see on the back there, if the camera is not picking up too much glare. Angry Birds Star Wars. This was picked up in a lot along with this Angry Birds trilogy. Both games don't tend to hold too much of a value there at the moment. Angry Birds Star Wars is £4.34 on price charting. Angry Birds, just the trilogy, slightly more, £7.55. Next up is one of my favourite games on the 3DS. This is Animal Crossing New Leaf. When this one came out, there hadn't been an Animal Crossing for a good number of years, and I think this is the first one in a while that really shook things up. So I spent a lot of time in this. I think this is over 100 hours for me on the 3DS for this one. It did come at the time. It had its own special edition 3DS XL as well at the time. But yeah, really good version of Animal Crossing. I think it's probably been surpassed by the one on the Switch, but I still have a special place in my heart for that one. It was very good at the time. Next up is Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer. As I said at the start of the video, I'll be showing kind of big boxes at the end. This did come in a big box edition in Europe. That's why it has this extra age rating on it as well, because that's the UK age rating and the European age rating, I think, based in Germany, which all the collector's editions are manufactured. This one came with an NFC reader so that you could read amiibos if you didn't have the new 3DS. Batman, Arkham Origins, Blackgate. So the Batman Arkham games, obviously very popular games on the home systems. But this one was, I think, a little underlooked at the time. It was just shown as a kind of throw-off handheld version, but it's actually really good. It's a 2D side-on kind of game set in the Batman Arkham universe. This is one of my favourite games on the system as well, Bit Trip Saga. All 6 games from the award-winning Bit Trip series. This one has started to go up a little bit in value a while ago, but it's kind of peaked off So it's about £16 and 7 pence. This is just really fun. You can get this on Switch as well, and many other consoles now as well. But it's really addictive, especially Bit Trip Runner. Excellent little game for handheld play sessions. Next is Boulder Dash XL 3D. This one was picked up in a lot by myself, so I'm not really too sure about this one. Came with a bunch of other games with a system that I got. £7.83 is its current value. So Bravely Default, I have digitally. I picked this one up recently. It was going on sale, and it was still sealed. Excellent RPG. Probably one of the better ones on the system. Unique kind of battle style. Square Enix. I'd say the value on this is probably going to rise even higher in years to come. £30 and 38p currently. And the sequel for this one, I haven't got around to playing this. This is an opened copy of it, Bravely Second End Layer. And again, the value for that one, £15 and 47 pence. Our first superhero-based game, Captain America Super Soldier. I picked this one up recently second-hand. Again, the value for it slightly going up now, so it's £31, 13 pence. I think I paid about £20 or so for it at the time. Again, haven't got round to playing it yet, but I believe it's a beat-em-up game based on the comic book hero, Captain America, obviously. Then we have one of my favourite games on the Wii U. I picked up a sealed copy of it here. So this, many people from the UK will recognise as a sticker from Argos. So they had a decent amount of stock of 3DS games. And when the 3DS was basically done, they were selling stuff off for very, very cheap. I can't remember the exact price I got this for. Its current value is £13.76 on price charting. Features new courses, based on Super Mario Odyssey. So, as again, you can tell this one's sealed. I haven't got round to playing it, but it was one of my favourite titles on the Wii U. You can get it on Switch as well. It also has DLC on Switch for that one. Castlevania is the next in the pile. Lords of Shadow, Mirror of Fate. This one is creeping up a bit in price as well. This is an opened copy. £31 and 8 pence. One of the better games on 3DS for me. I'm not a massive fan of Castlevania. I've tried a few of them, but this is one that I did try and I really liked. Cave Story 3D is the next title. This is, again, getting very expensive in price. I believe in America there's two different versions of this. There's this version, which just comes with the plain cover, and I think there is a lenticular 3D cover as well. In the UK, this complete in box, but obviously open and used, is worth £65, 27 pence. So as I say, really starting to get up there now in value for that one. Chibi Robo Ziplash. One of the most underwhelming games, I think, on the 3DS. This is another one that had a big boxed version. It came with Chibi Robo amiibo. The amiibo is excellent, but the game itself, very underwhelming, very disappointing. Fans had been waiting for a new Chibi Robo game from GameCube up to this point, and this one was just severely lacking, unfortunately. Not one of the best games on 3DS. Codename Steam is up next. I have two copies of it, one opened, one sealed. Reason being, this one just came in a lot that I had purchased. I'd actually purchased this game when it first came out, played it, wasn't a massive fan of it, but repurchased it again as part of a console deal that I'd done to get a new system. And then this one again when the stores were closing down and selling off the 3DS stock. I picked another copy up sealed. Interesting concept to the game, looking at historical figures and fighting with them. Abraham Lincoln and stuff's in that one, but not really one of my favourite games on the system. A launch title, Combat of Giants Dinosaurs 3D. Again, I would say this is a middle-of-the-road game. You can see the old 3DS system, the very first one. A fighting game with dinosaurs. Not really too much to say on that other than that. Did show off the 3D half decently though. I didn't pick this one up at launch itself, but a good bit afterwards. The only Cooking Mama game I have on 3DS, so Cooking Mama 4. And it's much more of the same Cooking Mama that we know from the DS. Crash Time 3D. This one actually took me a while to get a hold of. I'm a big fan of Burnout and of the Crash mode in Burnout and Burnout 2 on the GameCube. This one, again, is a European copy, so no English on the cover, but a fun little game nonetheless. Crush 3D is my next title up here. This one I had a decent amount of playtime in. It had an interesting concept. I don't think it executed it very well, so it's kind of a platformer, but you can use the 3D slider to change perspectives in the game. Yeah, I think it was slightly underwhelming as well in terms of what it could do. But decent concept. If you can see it for cheap, I would say to pick it up. It's only worth £4.25 in the UK, so I'm sure you could get a very cheap copy. The infamous Cubic Ninja. Fun fact about this game, it was actually used as the tool to hack the 3DS the very first time. New methods have come along since that are far superior in terms of the ability to hack the system, which I'm sure a lot of you know about. This one, the game itself, not very good, nothing special, but it will go down in 3DS history as being that tool that was used to hack the system. I believe it was the use of a QR code in the game that helped you bypass some security and get in and put new software on the system. It's worth £18.16. That's dropped a hell of a lot. At the time when the exploit first came out, that game was worth a heck of a lot more money than that. Another sealed game in the collection, Collection Revolt. As it's sealed, I'm sure you can imagine I haven't got a chance to play this one. I know it's some kind of card battling game. I've heard good things about it, but again, haven't got around to playing this one. It is jumping up a bit in value. I think the current sealed price for it, £41.26. Dead or Alive Dimensions. The fighting game that is well known on home consoles, came to the 3DS. I think the reason this one had people up in arms was the let's say chest movement feature in 3D of the female characters. A decent little fighting game. I always liked, I'm not a massive fighting game fan, but I always liked Dead or Alive games, but nothing too special on 3DS. Detective Pikachu. This is one of the rare 3DS titles in the EU region that changed the actual colour of the case. As you can see, it's that nice yellow colour to reflect Pikachu. This one is divisive, I think, in some ways, loved in some ways by others. The movie that they done the follow-up of obviously borrows from the name, but it doesn't borrow so much from the actual game itself. Interesting hearing Pikachu talk, and I think a lot more fans are going to be made of this one once the return comes out on the Switch. I believe the sequel to this one's coming. It's been out in Japan for a while. This got a big amiibo, you'll remember at the time, of Detective Pikachu himself. Dylan's Dead Heat Breakers. This is another title that I have tried digitally, but this one is a sealed copy. This was a sequel to the Dylan's Rolling Western on the 3DS, which is one of the more popular eShop download titles that hopefully some people got their hands on before the eShop closed down. Slightly underrated. I don't think this is as good as the first game. It's currently going for £6.47. It was high on the clearance list in the UK, so it doesn't hold too much value there at the moment. Dr. Lautrec and the Forgotten Knights. This one was recommended to me recently by my cousin, who's a big 3DS gamer and just Nintendo gamer in general. It's a Konami game. I don't know too much about it. I think it kind of takes inspiration from the Professor Layton titles, quite like a puzzle game. But it was recommended recently by him. He said he thinks this one may start to go up in value as well. At the moment, not too expensive, £15.97, complete in box. Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D, another one of my favourite titles on the 3DS. Excellent use of colour and art style in this, well designed levels. I love that one with the silhouettes. But the Donkey Kong games recently I think have been really good. I love this one. Tropical Freeze on the Wii U and the Switch is great as well. So if you want your Donkey Kong fix on the 3DS, it's a great game to get. Next up, we have a pair of Dragon Quest games. Both of these are still sealed, Dragon Quest 7 and Dragon Quest 8. 7 is the slightly cheaper of the bunch, so £32.80, and number 8 coming in at £38.78 currently. Both sealed, haven't tried either of them. I'm not a massive Dragon Quest fan, but as these are Square Enix, they are probably likely to go up in price, so I picked them up while I could. Still sealed. I didn't pay near what the prices are currently for them. So, Dream Trigger 3D, a really nice handheld game. It's a shooter, so fun, addictive gameplay to begin off with, but it's the colours and the style mixed with 3D that really pop for this one. I would recommend anyone to pick this up. It's really cheap as well, £6.58. I picked it up on release, so this is my original copy, but a really fun shooter game. Driver Renegade 3D. It is a driver game on the 3DS. I have tried this one briefly. These type of games I don't think kind of transferred over just as well to the 3DS. There's a couple of examples where bigger series did transfer over well, but this one for me wasn't exactly the best. Interesting to see what the 3DS could do graphically, but I think it was maybe just pushing it slightly too far. Epic Mickey Power of Illusion, not much to say on this one. Again, it was picked up with a 3DS XL bundle that I got to keep the console. Ever Oasis, it's another sealed game. It's another Argos game that I got in the seal right at the end before they got rid of their 3DS stock completely. I haven't tried this one, obviously. I've heard good things though. People say it's a really good RPG. This came out right at the death of the 3DS, so it's one of the last big games for it. I don't think many copies were printed, so it's currently reflected in its value, which is £59.31. But looking forward to trying that out when I get time. Next up, I have a little bundle of shame. This is FIFA 15, 14, 13, and 12. I do love football, but not much to say on those. They're the standard FIFA games, only on 3DS. Fantasy Life, a level 5 game. I would say the value on this will probably continue to rise due to the fact that it is a level 5 game, currently £25.43. You can definitely lose your life, as I said, to this one. There's a lot in here that you can do, really creative job system, but you can spend a lot of time with this one. Really good game on the 3DS. Okay, so 3 Fire Emblem games up next. This is Fire Emblem Awakening. I actually got this one free as part of a Nintendo promotion. I'm not sure if anyone remembers this in Europe, but Nintendo were doing a promotion. I think it was if you buy 2 games, you got a discount code to get another game for free. That was probably when they were starting to try and promote the 3DS a lot more after its kind of troubled beginnings. So I have played this one digitally. I never finished it. But Fire Emblem has got on to bigger and better things since then on the Switch. That copy sealed and currently worth £45.40. Fire Emblem Warriors, £13 and 2p this one is currently worth. As you can see, it's another one that is in a different coloured case. That is because this is one of the only, it may be the only, a 3DS game, I think in the UK, that released under the new 3DS banner. So you needed a new 3DS to play this game. There were a couple of other exceptions worldwide. I believe Minecraft released on that as well. I can't remember if there is another one, but we'll find out as we go along the collection. I had this at the time and sold it, but picked it up again in a sealed copy. And the third game, this is my most expensive 3DS game. This is Fire Emblem Fates. This came from the big box edition. It's currently worth £258.33 according to price charting. I did pay a bit more than that, and I've seen some going a bit more than that recently on eBay, probably £300 to £400. But yeah, the reason this game's obviously becoming so rare is because of this revelation being contained on the actual cartridge. You could get Birthright and Conquest, but the only way to get Revelation outside of this collector's edition in the physical format, or sorry, the only way to get it physically was this edition. The only way outside of that was on the eShop, which is now defunct, so the prices for this are probably going to steadily rise. Freaky Forms Deluxe, picked up from CEX for £1 or £2. Apparently it's worth £9 and 73p. I think I got it for far cheaper than that, but again, don't really know too much about that one. Frogger 3D, the Konami game. This one's getting very expensive now in the United States, I believe. I think it's over $50, $60, $70, something like that. I remember seeing the price. In the UK, though, it's priced a lot lower than that. Currently £16 and 69p for that one. Gabriella's Ghostly Groove 3D. This is a 3DS rhythm game. It was actually quite fun. I've tried this one out a little bit, but maybe not for my age range so much. Gardenscapes, put out by Purple Hills. This one didn't have any information on price charting. I did try and check eBay myself, didn't see any listings of this one either. I actually bought this one a few months ago. I seen it on eBay going for a decent price. Didn't know too much about the actual title itself, but I had contemplated at the time maybe trying to get a full 3DS collection. But yeah, don't know too much about this one, but the price may be relatively high considering there doesn't seem to be that many copies floating around. Gravity Falls. This is another one on 3DS that I think has gone up slightly in value. I think maybe more so in the United States. Currently $23.66 here in the UK. Go Go Coca-Polo Anniversary Edition. This is from Limited Run Games. It contains only the second and third limited run release on the 3DS. I have this one sealed. I think it came in a few different editions. There was one above this edition that came in an even bigger kind of collector's box, but I'm happy enough with just having these. A really interesting 3DS eShop game. Finally put in physical form, which is great to see, and it's a cool little collector's piece to have. Gardening Mama, Forest Friends. I don't know where I picked this one up. I actually said earlier I thought I'd only had the one Cooking Mama title, but I'd forgotten all about Gardening Mama, Forest Friends. Goosebumps the game. Again, not worth very much, a few pounds. I picked it up in that 3DS XL lot that had quite a lot of kids' games in it. Yeah, I don't know too much about that one. Next up is one of the more expensive titles on the system in the European region, and that is Heavy Fire, The Chosen Few 3D. I actually have two copies of it. I picked them up for a really reasonable price, both individually. This one was the mainland Europe edition, so it doesn't come in English. This one was the UK edition that had English box art, so I picked it up second. Just picked it up basically because of the change in the box art. But yeah, that one is currently worth a lot of money. So it's £131.75 currently on price charting. Hey Pikmin up next. As you can see, sealed copy. Didn't get to try this one at the time. It's a slightly later release again on the 3DS, but yeah, I believe this one's a kind of more 2D side-scroller version of Pikmin. Haven't heard great things, but with Pikmin 4 coming out recently on the Switch, maybe a good time to pick up Hey Pikmin and just play all 4 games and this spin-off. Hyrule Warriors Legends. This is not a great game. It doesn't run well on the 3DS. It was ported from the Wii U, I believe. I didn't play it on that system, so I've only ever played the 3D edition of it. Wasn't great, didn't run well. This one, however, did come in a big box edition I will show at the end of the video. But even that being said, it's only worth £38. That's with the big box edition, and I think you can get it just on its own for a lot cheaper than that. This is another one that didn't appear on price charting, Imagine Champion Rider 3D. I believe this maybe had a different name in different regions around the world. I think it definitely had a different name in mainland Europe. Don't know anything about this, seen it on eBay going for really cheap, and I'd never seen it before in stores. Not really sure of the value of that one. 2 titles in the Inazuma 11 series. We've got Go Light, and this one is a French version of it, but it's Inazuma 11-3. So box art, not in English. I haven't played any of these, to be honest, since the very first Inazuma 11 on the DS, which I did enjoy at the time. I believe there's an anime of this as well, but being so far behind on the series, one day I will hopefully get around to the rest of those. They are relatively expensive as well. So Team Ogre Attacks, which is the one in the different language there, it's worth £54.39, and Inazuma 11 Go Light is currently worth £29.53. For many, we have the best game on 3DS coming up next. It is Kid Icarus Uprising. An excellent game, really fun. Held back, I think, slightly by its control scheme. Very strange control scheme, use of the stylus. It was quite awkward to play this. This, again, was the edition that came in the big box. So it did have the stand with it that you put your 3DS in to hold, and then you would kind of play with the stylus at the same time. But a really, really excellent game. Sakurai pushed the boat out for this, as he does on most of his titles, and it was really well loved and enjoyed. Just going to open this one up as well. It did come with some cards as well, and it has some really cool inner box art as well. This one, as well as Smash Brothers, helped to really kind of push Kid Icarus back up into the conscience of Nintendo gamers, and I'm hoping we can get a remaster of this or an HD version ported to the Switch or whatever Nintendo's new console will be. A stack of 4 Kirby games. First up, we have Triple Deluxe. This is the one I've spent the most time with. Really, really fun side-scrolling game. The music in this is absolutely tremendous. It's still worth £16.07. The next one, I believe, yeah, Planet Robobot. This is the one that's worth a fair bit more. I haven't got round to playing this one. When I seen the value of it start to go up, I bought a second-hand copy off someone. A little bit of gunk on the cover there, as you can see. But this is currently £30 in the UK at the moment. And it's supposed to be the best of the bunch of Kirby games on this system, so have to get round to that at some time. Next one up, Kirby Battle Royale. And then finally, we have a sealed copy of Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn. Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance. This one is a repurchase for me. I purchased it basically just to try and beef out the 3DS collection. As I said, I was thinking of going for a full boxed collection at the time. A Square Enix game. I'm not a massive fan of the series. I did remember picking this up on release. I wasn't massively impressed by it, but maybe fans of the series would know better. It was another one that came with some exclusive AR cards as well, which are in there, and some cool interior box art as well. Okay, so for the next ones, I don't really have a massive amount to say on these. It's all the Lego games that I have. So we've got Lego Jurassic World, Lego Harry Potter, Lego City Undercover, The Chase Begins. That's the only one I have really any experience with. I actually have 2 copies of that for some reason. Just through various lots and console bundles and stuff, I've ended up with a few copies. And that's a prequel to the Wii U game. And then Lego Batman 2 DC Superheroes. I'm not a massive fan of the Lego games. I think they're just slightly too little of a challenge for me personally. But I can see why they'd be great for kids, obviously, which is what they're designed for. Okay, next up we have the Zelda titles. Ocarina of Time 3D. I actually got that one from Amazon. I wrote for a small Nintendo website at the time, like a fan site, and I got that one sent from Amazon 3 or 4 days early. I was one of the lucky ones that got their delivery through early. Just an excellent game, perfectly transported over to 3DS. A beloved game from the N64, but still really entertaining on the 3DS. And I loved the upgrades to the graphics, the motion controls that you could put in this one. The 3D looked really good as well. So just an excellent title. The reason I have 2 versions of that, I think as a pre-order bonus in game in the UK, you could get this gold cover. You can see the light reflecting on it there. So as you can see on the back there, it says not for resale, not to be sold separately. But yeah, I picked that up off someone just because I loved this game so much. So it was nice to have the additional case that came with it. Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes, another one of the Argos reduced games. Picked up for a few pounds. Again, sealed, so I haven't had too much experience with that one. One that I have had a fair amount of experience with, the Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask 3D. Much like Ocarina of Time, this got the same type of upgrade. Really, really cool to see. Similarly, the same things can be said about it. It's not one of my favourite Zelda games. I don't think I really enjoy games with a countdown timer. Which is maybe why I didn't get on with this one as well as I did with Ocarina of Time. This one came in a big box edition though, and I'll show that off at the end. A Link Between Worlds. Excellent Zelda game. I don't think I can emphasize that enough. Brilliant art style, fun gameplay. The system of merging into the wall was excellent. The freedom that it kind of gave you to choose what path you wanted to take by deciding which weapons and equipment to rent. A really excellent game. I was living in London at the time when this came out. And I spent a hell of a lot of time playing this at that period of time. Really excellent game. Next up, we have a pair of Luigi's Mansion games. So we have the first Luigi's Mansion, one of my favorite games on the Nintendo GameCube. Short, it was unexpected at the time, but very good game. Transferred over excellently to the 3DS as well. It's nice that you can play both of the games that were available at the time on this console. The Luigi's Mansion 2 has since going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch. Obviously Luigi's Mansion 3 is available currently on the Switch as well, so we may get a port of the first one and have the full Luigi's Mansion series on Switch. Second one was an excellent game though. I think this is one of the best uses of 3D on the 3DS. The flashlight from Luigi looked amazing. Another fun little tidbit about this game, I'm not sure if they removed this from later editions, but you can see these kind of ghostly outlines here on the cover. And those actually glow in the dark, so if you have that under a light and then you turn the light off, and they glow in the dark. Mario Sports Superstars. This is the first of a series of games coming up that have Mario in the title. This sports game, I actually quite enjoyed this. It had been a while since we had a Mario football or soccer game, depending on what part of the world you're from. So it was interesting that it was included in this. I don't think any of the sports are necessarily as kind of feature-rich and as in-depth as you would want them to be. But the fact that you get a few sports included in the one title was pretty cool. 5 different sports. It also included the use of amiibo cards as well for this title. Okay, then there's a run of Mario and Luigi games. So the first one that I'm showing here, Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story. Next up, Mario and Luigi Paper Jam Bros. Then you had Mario and Luigi Dream Team Bros. And finally, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. It's a bit of a tongue twister. And Bowser's Minions. These have held their value relatively well. I think this one, in the UK at least anyway, is the most expensive, if I'm remembering that correct. Let's have a look. So this one is £36 and 59p. Paper Jam Bros £19, 11p. Dream Team Bros £10.76, and it's actually Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story that is the most expensive. It's £47.23 currently on price charting. A couple of Mario Party games up next. So Mario Party Star Rush and Mario Party Island Tour. I don't think these games work as well on handhelds as they probably do their console counterparts. Maybe that's just me, but I think I have more of an opportunity to kind of play these types of game on a home console. Next up we have Mario and Sonic at the London 2012 Olympic Games. Obviously, they're kind of tie-in with the Olympic Games. We've had many of these. This one notable, obviously, living between the UK and Ireland. It was kind of on the doorstep here, with it taking place in London. And the final Mario Party game I have, Mario Party The Top 100. This is probably the best of the bunch, I feel. Kind of a definitive collection there, as it says, collecting 100 different mini-games from past Mario Party titles. Then we have a brace of Mario sports titles. So Mario Tennis Open. Disappointed in this one. Also disappointed in the Mario Tennis that appeared on Switch as well. This one, it's half decent, but I just think it was lacking a bit in kind of content. But I played a fair bit of this, but it's definitely nothing on the next sports game that we have up, which is Mario Golf World Tour. And I think this Mario Golf game has probably been the best Mario sports game there's been in a fair while. I don't think any of them on Switch have really set the world alight. And this one on 3DS was really, really good. And then the obligatory Mario Kart 7. An excellent game, a really important game for the series, I think. Introduced a lot of different things. Obviously, you've got the like of your glider that got introduced here. The 3D didn't do too much for me in this particular title. And it's a shame, really. This has kind of been surpassed by Mario Kart 8 in almost every way. And with Switch being portable as well, you know, that kind of thing that it had going for it is also lost a bit. But Mario Kart 7 is still an excellent game. This was a repurchase. I had this when it initially came out and had to sell it at one point or another. But picked it up. Can't go without that in the collection. So I said these weren't particularly in alphabetical order, and we have the Lego Hobbit and Lego Lord of the Rings. Again, not very valuable games, picked up along the way, probably in bundles. Not particularly my kind of thing. I do enjoy the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit franchise though, but yeah, not really into the games. Metroid Prime Federation Force up next. This one, again, haven't tried. I bought it in the sale. But I've heard negative things. I have tried this though, which is Metroid Prime Blast Ball, which comes as part of the package, and I actually find that quite fun. But yeah, it's another one I'll have to check out down the line. And now the best Metroid game on the system. This is a sealed copy because it was the one that came within the big box edition, which again I will show at the end. I think it's probably my favourite special edition that appeared on the 3DS. The steelbook that came with this is amazing, and we'll check that out at the end. But I have played this game, just not on this copy, and for me, this is one of the best games on the system. I do enjoy Metroid. I think Metroid Dread coming out in terms of 2D Metroid has really given it a shot in the arm that the series needed. But this was out beforehand, even though it's a remake. It's still done some really cool things. I like the art style. Yeah, it was a very good game. Monster High, not much to say on that. Moshi Monsters, again, not much to say on that. Monster Hunter Stories. Purchased this sealed probably about 6 months to a year ago. I've tried to get into Monster Hunter games. There are a few of them on the 3DS, and that one obviously I've not played. As you can see, it's still sealed. I was recommended to try it out because the other games hadn't really clicked with me, and this is more of a story-based game. So it's one that I will eventually get to. It actually is holding its value quite a bit. I have the cost for it up at the minute, and it's £56.96 sealed currently. We also have Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. Picked it up for cheap. But again, not much time spent with it. This is the one that I spent the most time with, which is Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. And if I remember correctly, it's one of the earliest games that worked with the Circle Pad Pro, if I'm remembering that correctly. Monster Hunter games, they're maybe just not for me, or maybe I just didn't spend enough time in it. But it's definitely a series that I will have to try and pay some attention to down the line and try out a few more of these games. But I've got a couple waiting for me on 3DS here. Madden Football up next, the NFL game. Don't know a massive amount about American football. I actually kind of enjoyed this one. This, again, I think was a launch game. I didn't get it at the launch, but I thought it was an interesting use of the 3D and the kind of angle it gives you of the play on the pitch. But again, not a massive Madden fan. Next up, we have one of the best showcases of 3D on the system, in my opinion. This is Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater 3D, a Hideo Kojima game. So this is a remake of Metal Gear 3 that appeared on the PlayStation 2. As I said, the 3D in this, I found it really spectacular. They had initially released a demo of this game that you could try out and download from the eShop. I thought that was really cool at the time, and the 3D worked fantastically on it. And it works really cool in the game itself. A couple of little Easter eggs and different things in this. I remember you being able to use the camera to make camouflage and stuff in this one. The only issue that I would have with this is the frame rate is pretty bad. However, having this great game in handheld, being able to see it in 3D, and it for me was one of the games that worked best with my eyes with the 3D. It was fantastic, and again, this is another one that benefits from the C-Stick on the new Nintendo 3DS or the Circle Pad Pro if you had that. Next up, we have Miitopia. This is one of the cheaper games currently on the 3DS system. I'm seeing it on price charting here at £5.81. Just forgetting I actually didn't mention some of the last games, which are some of the more expensive ones. So Metal Gear at the minute is sitting around £51 on price charting. And the Samus Returns, if you have the Legacy Edition with the Steelbook and everything, it's around £140. But Utopia, one of the cheaper games, to be honest, at the moment. It's one that you find a lot in sales come the end of the lifespan of the console. A couple of new style boutique games. These are published by Nintendo. That's the reason I have them. So I have number 3 and number 1, missing the second game in the series. Next up, we have Nintendogs. Now, these 3 were some of the hardest games it's taken me to track down, which might sound surprising to you, but it's because of this, the slipcover. So I'll just show one at a time. So this one is with the French Bulldog, and as you can see, it has the light blue slipcover. Finding these intact with the slipcover in decent condition has become quite difficult now. This one, as you can see, has a little bit of damage, but it was the best quality I could find, and it was one of the only ones that I could find with the slipcase intact. I think this was actually the last one that I picked up. The first one that I picked up, and this one was still in quite good condition, the Golden Retriever version. Again, the slipcover. It's got a little cutout so that you can see the pets in there. And the final Nintendogs and Cats was this one, the Toy Poodle. Again, this one's with the pink slipcover. A little bit of damage. As I said, it is quite hard to find them. If you do see one of these and it's in good condition, I would pick it up. The games themselves aren't valued at much, but I don't think many people know that they originally had this slipcover with them. I think it was maybe only on the first run in Europe, but something to keep in mind if you are trying to collect. This one's a fun little game. So I have downloaded this game on my Switch, but in Europe they had a physical version of this. It is a code in a box, which I don't really tend to agree with, but just as a little collector's piece, this one's French. I believe you could get this in English language, but in searching for it, I couldn't find it anywhere. So I opted to pick up the French version. At the time, it was very, very cheap. I'm not sure if you can still pick it up for cheap, but this is sealed. No real need for it. I have downloaded the digital version of this game, and it's a really interesting little kind of football management type game. But yeah, it was nifty to have a physical copy of something like that. New Super Mario Bros. 2, another game much like Detective Pikachu that got a different coloured case. It's the yellow case again, to signify that this game was all about collecting golden coins. With the new Super Mario Bros. Series, I think by this stage, people had just started to become sick and tired of the art style. I don't really think this game is much worse than the others in the series. It's you know, it's on a similar level. The gimmick with the coins, I mean, there wasn't really much incentive or reason to gather up the coins. It was fun, a little bit different, but I'm really glad that they're moving away from this art style for the next 2D Mario game. The grails of many people's collection would be the Louvre Guide for the 3DS. There are many different versions of this. If you see in the top right corner, they came in many different languages. These were only sold in the Louvre Museum. I have a sealed copy here. So this one is the French language version of this. I had always wanted this game, and it had been kind of a holy grail type item for me that I wanted to pick up for a long time throughout the 3DS's lifespan. And I thought to myself one day I will actually go to Paris and get this, but what actually ended up happening was someone alerted me that this game somehow had found its way, various copies of it, onto Amazon France. So I purchased it from there and got it delivered. So I paid, I think, around €40 for this game. It's now worth over €100. And if you have the English variant, or maybe in America even, this variant can fetch a fair price. So it's something that was hard to get. And yeah, I'll be keeping this one sealed. I have downloaded a version of this onto a 3DS just to kind of check it out. But this one, yeah, I'll be keeping sealed. Order Up, fun kind of cooking mini game. This one, it's another one that I don't often see. I don't think it holds a massive amount of value. £22.34, so a decent value for a 3DS game in the UK, but it's not one that you see commonly. So again, if you're hunting, pick that up if you ever see it. The most disgusting box on my 3DS collection. It's horribly yellowed. I'm not sure if you can kind of pick that up in the camera. It's not great lighting in here, but Pro Evolution Soccer 2011. This was my preference over FIFA. I showed a lot of the FIFA games earlier on, but this is the one that I spent the most time with when the 3DS came out. Again, I believe this was a launch title, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember spending a lot of time on this one. Football and sports games, they can't just be so easy to sink a lot of time into. Yes, they're kind of generic and quite similar each year, but this one was quite good. Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures. Again, not much value held in this one, around £8 currently on Price Chart. Puzzle and Dragons Z or Z, Super Mario Bros. Edition. This I've heard a lot of praise for. As you can see, mine is currently a sealed copy. I have it downloaded on another 3DS. I picked this one up when Amazon was getting rid of a lot of 3DS stuff, and I got it for really cheap, and I think it's worth slightly more than I got it for now, but yep. Picross 3D, another one that I picked up on Amazon when they were getting rid of a lot of 3DS stuff on clearance. I think I got this for maybe £4 or £5, but nice to have a sealed copy of it nonetheless. Poochie and Yoshi's Woolly World. Poochie the amiibo has become quite the collector's item. The game itself, just on its own like this, isn't worth a terrible amount, but if you do have it with the Poochie amiibo, it can fetch upwards of £100 or so. But yeah, good game. Doesn't run the best on Switch or on 3DS or look the best, but yeah, it's cool to have Woolly World on a handheld format. Persona Q, Shadow of the Labyrinth, again an Atlas game, so more than likely will go up in value at some stage. Couple of Professor Layton games up next. Played a fair amount of this one, Professor Layton and the Miracle Mask. I haven't played all the Layton games, dabbled in a couple of them on 3DS and a couple of them on the DS. But I believe this one is relatively valuable at the moment, and that is Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright. Obviously a cross between two very popular Nintendo series, and that always seems to bring the collectability up. The next titles that we'll go on to also are kind of a crossover as well, and it's made them a little bit more expensive. So again, pick that up if you see it for a good price. And as I said, the next games coming up would be crossovers as well, and it's Project X Zone and Project X Zone 2. Again, these are crossover titles between Capcom and Sega. They are quite valuable there at the moment, so I think Project X Zone is worth about £42, and Project X Zone 2 is worth £100. I think it's just the kind of novelty factor of these, the fact that it's the two big companies crossing over. You look at some of the characters here, obviously there's a lot of big names, but yeah, really kind of unique games these. I played a fair bit of the first one. I haven't really dabbled too much in the second one, but yeah, they are getting very expensive now, so certainly ones to pick up if you can see them on the cheap anywhere. Pilot Wings Resort. This was kind of not really celebrated as one of the better games on 3DS. But weirdly for me, this is one of my favorite games on the system. I just got really addicted to it. Obviously, there's a lot of kind of mini games, skill, kind of sports challenges, flying games, things like that on it. This is one that I really, really enjoyed. I put a lot more time than I probably should have into Pilot Wings Resort. I think it is a relatively short game, but I got into a real gameplay loop of it. It was quite addictive. The 3D effect in this as well, I think, is fantastic. The flying sections where you have to go through the little circles and land on the landing pad with jetpacks or gliders, I just thought were fantastic on 3D. A few Pokemon games coming up. So Pokemon Omega Ruby, again, one that got a slightly different cover. This red cover, obviously, as a variant, which is quite unique. And this did get a slightly bigger boxed edition that came with a steel case, which I will show again at the end of the video. And we've got Pokemon Ultra Sun. These games done fantastically well. Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. They kind of came out at the same time as the craze of Pokemon Go. So they really took off, and their sales numbers were fantastic for Nintendo. And Pokemon X. I had high expectations for this one at the time that it came out. I bought this, I was living in London at the time, and I bought this from a Blockbuster video. There were such a thing still when this first came out. It was the very end of the run of that store. It closed down a month or two after that came out. But yeah, I had high expectations for it. It seemed like it was going to do something a bit new, go slightly more in the kind of 3D route, as you can see. But it didn't quite finally pull that off, I don't think. And I think Pokemon's still struggling in that regard. People are waiting for this big shift and big turn, and I think we finally got there on the Switch, but it maybe just wasn't executed as perfectly as it could have been with the kind of terrible graphics and performance issues that we've got. But Pokemon's still moving in the right direction overall. Ridge Racer. Do you remember that one? Ridge Racer 3D. The obligatory Ridge Racer game on a new system. This was a thing that happened for a while. In around the launch window of a lot of consoles, you would get a new Ridge Racer game. This one, again, I enjoyed. Thought the 3D was cool. Thought it was a really fun game. It ran quite well for being on the hardware that it's on. But Ridge Racer is always a good time. Hatsune Miku Project Mira, I think is how you say that. Haven't played this one. It's a Sega game. I think it's maybe quite sought after. Let me see if I have it on this list. Yeah, this may have been another one that couldn't be found on price charting. It's not one that I often see, so let me know in the comments if you know anything about this game, or if it's one I should jump into, and what its kind of relative value is at the moment. Okay, and now we're getting into some really big hitters, and this is Radiant Historia. An excellent game and a huge price tag as well. £163.09 is its current trading price on price charting. I got this for a fair bit less than that, but I didn't get it at launch, so I had to pay slightly over what the launch price would have been. But I did get it for relatively cheap. As you can see, it's not an English language box, which I guess will affect the value, but the game does still play in English. I believe, yeah, it came with an art book there, as I'm showing. But yeah, if you see Radiant Historia anywhere for a half-decent price, it's probably time to pick it up. It being Atlas, I would say it will continue to increase in value. Riding Stables 3D. Picked this up in a bundle of games. Don't know too much about it. Again, no price tag on it on price charting. Don't really know too much about what this is worth, but anyone can let me know if they know anything about this in the comments. Resident Evil Revelations, and this was a bit of a revelation itself on the 3DS. This one on the left is my original copy. It came in an oversized pack, which again I will show at the end. Included a Circle Pad Pro in it, and it's still pretty valuable as well, £62.92. And the normal version here, £15.16. The reason I have this one is because, I don't know if you can see that, the cover, I bought this second hand off someone. It was awful. Can't really see it, but it has a lenticular cover there on it, which I believe was a pre-order bonus, as you can see, not to be sold separately. But the box for that one's in pretty terrible shape. I'm going to have to switch it out probably at some stage. But yeah, Resident Evil Revelations was a really cool game. This is the one that had the cover misprint of Revelations in the United States. So that's, again, something to look out for if you're collecting for this one. And again, yeah, look out for that lenticular cover if you're going to be searching for this one in the UK. Rhythm Thief and the Emperor's Treasure. Really nice rhythm game from Sega. Kind of came out of nowhere. I was very interested in this at the time, played a fair bit of it when it first came out. Its value has kind of fluctuated up and down, I think, in the UK market, currently sitting around £40. I believe in America this one is very valuable at the minute. It's not easy to come by. But yeah, really unique and fun rhythm game. Really cool story to it, and yeah, I think this one's excellent. Another one that would be quite valuable in America at the moment, I think it only got a European release, so it would have to be imported. It's currently, the UK price for it sitting around £22.32, so not a massive value over here in the UK, but I imagine you'll probably pay more for this if someone has a copy in the States. And it is what it says. It's a mega mix of Rhythm Paradise, sorry, games, and yeah, really cool collection, really neat, and actually kind of cool that it's a European exclusive. Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS. This released slightly earlier than the Wii U edition. Gave us, with the handheld, a few extra weeks of being able to gloat that we could play the new Smash Bros. Sakurai put a lot of work into this. Quirky art style, somewhat cel-shaded with a bit of a black background around characters to help differentiate between them on the 3DS's small screen. There's not a great deal of value in this as such, but it's a very influential game on the 3DS. It's the only Smash Bros. That's ever been released for a dedicated handheld system, so really cool to have in the collection. Shinobi, Sega classic. I think it is starting to become more hard to come by in the United States. £12.86 in the UK, so not dirt cheap. I think I picked this up not at launch, but a good bit after, but still during the kind of lifetime of the 3DS, and I think I paid about £5 for this in a clearance sale. It's hard as nails, as Shinobi probably should be. Not maybe my type of game, but still cool to have the Sega classic in the collection. Another very expensive entry, Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey Redux. Includes the poster. The poster is inside this one as well, which is great. The current value of this, £129.05, so it's going to be hard to get your hands on this one as well. Again, Atlas, they always go up in value. They're always hard to come by. They're always good to collect and keep. This is one of the only Shin Megami Tensei titles that I've ever really got into. But yeah, cool game. Not so much of a cool game coming up next, Snoopy's Grand Adventure. Surprisingly holds a fair amount of value though, £23.45. It did surprise me when I scanned that in. Again, this came in that kind of bundle of kids games that I have dotted throughout the collection. A lot of them came in the one bundle when I bought it, and yeah, haven't played it. Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. This one is, again, starting to become hard to come by. I believe in America it's quite valuable as well. So £132 and 32p. It's rare on the 3D or on the 3DS and the Switch currently as well. So it's really nice to have this. I didn't pay that much for it in comparison to what it's worth now, which is cool. Shantae games are always great, and you can obviously get these on the Switch now, or any of the modern consoles, I believe, as a digital download, but it's always nice to have the physical. Stella Glow. I have this new and sealed. It's currently trending at about £48 for a new and sealed version. I bought this at the very tail end of the eShop closing down. Was trying to pick up as many titles as I could. Again, don't know a massive deal about it. Atlas Games, so you're pretty safe in saying that collecting this was a good idea, but I have heard good things about this one as well. Sonic Generations. I remember being very excited about this when it came out, and I really enjoyed it. Kind of leans to a 2D side-scrolling Sonic, but with 3D elements, as you can see in this middle image as well. Some of the shine was kind of taken off this game after the likes of Sonic Mania released, and it was very good. But Sonic Generations, you can do a lot worse Sonic games than this. So yeah, still nice to have. Another great Sega title on the system. This time it's Sega 3D Classics Collection. So as a lot of you probably know, some of the titles here dotted along the top were remastered in 3D format, especially for the 3DS. They're not all included on here, unfortunately. Japan had 2 versions of this physically, but here in the UK / Europe, we only got the one version here. Still contains a lot of the titles and is still really cool to have in a physical format, but I would recommend downloading all the Sega 3D Classics games and giving them a go. They really do pop on the 3D, which is one of the main kind of selling points of the console. Shovel Knight. This has held its value relatively well, but I think was kind of affected by a lot of other versions of this coming out on more modern systems. You can see here it includes the soundtrack as well. I think it was a digital code for the soundtrack, if I remember correctly. And this one was compatible, as it says, with the Shovel Knight amiibo. I remember when this came out being quite excited about it. At this point there was no limited run or anything like that, and I remember this kind of indie game getting a physical release from Yacht Club Games was a really big deal for me. So yeah, excellent game, Shovel Knight, but can be picked up and played in a far more accessible way than on the 3DS. But if you are hunting down a full collection, or you want to get this in the 3DS, you can definitely try and pick this one up, because it's still a great game. Star Fox 64 3D. I wish they had have kept the Lilac Wars for this. Would have been amazing if it had been called Lilac Wars 3D. That would have been absolutely incredible. Short game. I guess the idea behind it is to try and get a fair amount of replay value out of it, but it looks good in 3D. And yeah, I like the unique kind of function this one had with the multiplayer. It used the camera on your 3DS, and you could kind of see your friends that you were playing against when you're shooting them down in your starship. Spirit Camera up next. This one is sealed. Picked it up fairly recently as well. The idea behind Spirit Camera is that it uses the AR function of the 3DS. So there is a need for having the manual that's included within this one. So I'll probably keep this sealed for the time being, but if you are looking to pick this one up, it's important to kind of make sure that it comes with the manual that's needed. Super Mario Maker 3DS. This, interesting that it ended up coming to the 3DS. I guess they just thought it's worth putting out and it'll sell enough to make it worthwhile. I think the Wii U game is superior. I think the Switch game is superior. But again, if you just have a 3DS, it's an interesting title to pick up and have fun with. Super Street Fighter 4 3D edition. This is the first game that I ever played on the 3DS. I got this on launch day with my Aqua Blue system. And yeah, I couldn't quite believe that this was running on the 3DS at the time. Really nice looking game. The 3D element works well as well. I remember my brother coming over on launch day and having a look at this, and he was kind of blown away by the way it looked. But fighting games aren't usually my forte, but it was probably the best of a relatively mediocre bunch on launch day. Sushi Striker, Way of Sushido. This is still sealed, as you can see. I've played this game on the Nintendo Switch. Goes for really cheap on the Switch, goes for really cheap on the 3DS. I've heard this version on the 3DS is actually the kind of preferable way to play. The mechanics and stuff are supposed to work a lot better on this version, but I'm just keeping it sealed for now as I've already played it on Nintendo Switch. Shin Megami Tensei Devil Survivor 2. Again, Atlas will probably go up in value. Gonna keep this one sealed. Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner Soul Hackers. Again, Atlas, relatively valuable, keeping it sealed as well. And we are getting near the end of this really long 3DS video, so if anyone's stuck with me this far, I really appreciate it. Hopefully you can leave a comment below on your favorite titles, any ones I'm missing as well, or give me your thoughts on any ones that I haven't currently played. Steel Diver, early on in the lifespan of the 3DS, a unique and strange title, not really beloved by a lot of people. Comes with a lenticular 3D case though, which is pretty cool. Another one of my favorites on the system, Super Mario 3D Land, is actually one of my favorite Mario games. I think it just blends the 2D Mario and 3D Mario perfectly. I don't think any other game has really done it quite as well as this. The use of 3D in this as well. This was a real kind of system saver. This and Mario Kart 7 coming out is when 3DS really started to kind of turn the tables and become a sort of system worth having. But the 3D worked really well in this. This was one of the only games at the beginning that started to make the 3D feature useful for the actual gameplay itself, and it probably helped shift a lot of units for this one. Senran Kagura Burst 1 and the second game here in the Senran Kagura. This second one was recently re-released under the limited run banner as their latest 3DS title, which I believe there's a further 3DS title to come as well, but no word on what that will be as of yet. But despite that, these have both held a relatively high value. So the first game, £44 roughly, and this one on price charting sitting at around £176. I had to pay a fair kind of price for this at the time. I think it was about £90 I paid. I picked this up in a local CEX, had a copy of it, and I was able to trade in quite a lot of games towards it, and yeah, pick it up. It's pretty expensive now. I'm not sure if it's maybe worth that price if you can pick up a limited run copy or download the game, but yeah, really expensive game. Super Black Bass 3D, somewhat of a throwaway title. Strangest game on the 3DS award has to go to Tomodachi Life. This one again came out when I lived in London, and I spent a fair bit of time on it. Very unique game system and style of game, quirky and insane. It's basically like playing a reality TV show with crazy characters in the world, your own friends and family that you can create. And there's a big scene online of creating different celebrities and being able to live with them in your crazy house. But yeah, very strange game. I think it's definitely worth having on the 3DS, and if you're looking for some kind of weird Japanese style Nintendo madness, definitely pick this one up. Teddy Together. There was a period where this was selling on Amazon UK for I think about £1, and that's when I picked it up. No idea. Tenkai Knights Brave Battle. I picked up a pre-owned copy of this for relatively cheap. I've heard decent enough things. I think it holds a fair bit of value now as well at the moment, but not put a great deal of time into this one. It's around £14 at the moment. Tetris Ultimate. It's Tetris on the 3DS. You really can't go wrong with Tetris, and this is a good version of it on the 3DS. I believe there's a couple of different Tetris games on the 3DS, but yeah, you can never go wrong with Tetris. Tekken 3D Prime Edition, and this one is a very unique game card and a very cool little feature in this one. As you can see, it has the British Board of Film classification 12 rating, so you have to be 12 and up for this game. And the reason it has the film notification on it for the age rating is because this game card actually contains a full 3D movie of a Tekken movie. So really cool and unique kind of cartridge. That's the main reason I picked this up. As I've said before in this video, fighting games, not necessarily my forte, but to be able to watch a full feature-length 3D movie on the 3DS is pretty cool and unique, I think. Splinter Cell 3D. I think this was a launch title, or very close to launch, if not a launch title itself. It's terrible. Ghost Recon Shadow Wars. This is probably the dark horse of the entire 3DS lineup. Not really what I expected. The Ubisoft game, a kind of tactics game set in the Ghost Recon franchise. But this one actually plays really, really great, and it's a really good tactics game. Thomas and Friends, part of the kids 3DS bundle that I purchased. No idea really what this is like, but yeah, I enjoyed Thomas when I was a kid. Tales of the Abyss on the 3DS. The Tales games tend to hold their value as well. This one no different, currently sitting at around £28 in the UK, and yeah, it's supposed to be a great title. It's not one I've put a great deal of time into. I remember putting this in my system when I picked it up, but haven't got back to it, unfortunately. Ultimate NES Remix. There was 2 parts of this on the Wii U, and we got this on the 3DS. One of the best titles, I think, on the system. Remixes the old Nintendo Entertainment System games. These were really unique and fun, and this is the kind of stuff that I love Nintendo doing with their old titles, and their kind of way of combating piracy and people playing ROMs and stuff should be to do more things like this, to remix their old games, to have fun with it. I think Mario Maker was something similar in the same kind of vein. But this is an amazing title. If you can get your hands on it for Wii U or for 3DS, it's definitely worth playing. WarioWare Gold. This copy that I have, again in European, it was a European copy, so not in English language. Bought this at the time near the end of the console's lifespan, and it was reduced very heavily on Amazon UK. Purchased it, and for some reason a French version turned up in the post. I never opened it. I did kind of have intentions on maybe returning it at the time, but never got round to it, so yeah, I still have the copy. Xenoblade Chronicles 3D. I knew there was another new 3DS exclusive game that I was forgetting about earlier on, and this is it. This is the first way I actually experienced playing Xenoblade Chronicles, and I'll be honest, it's not the best way to play it. You can now play it on Switch, you can play it on Wii, and this is the least favourable way, I think, of playing it. It's impressive that it's running on the 3DS hardware, definitely impressive, and again, you've got that kind of unique factor. It's the black case, and the fact that it only works on the new 3DS line of consoles, but there are better ways to play this classic game. Yoshi's New Island. Not the best Yoshi game that's available, but still worth having on the 3DS. The Yokai Watch series are the last games that I come to here as part of this collection before we move on to the special editions. Yokai Watch 1, this is the one that I've put the most time into. Somewhat of a Pokemon-inspired kind of game where you play with capturing different yokai, or ghosts really as they are. Very big game in Japan apparently, but didn't quite take off in Europe or the US, and I don't think we're going to get any more games in this series over here. That one isn't worth a terrible amount, but then you move on and you have other games in the series that are worth a fair amount of money. So this is Yokai Watch 2 Psychic Spectres. £34.25 currently this is worth. Again, this isn't an English language cover, it was purchased from another European country, but yeah, it's still got a fair amount of value. Again, this one not in the English language, but in English this is Yokai Watch Blasters White Dog Squad. I have a sealed copy here. Picked this up when they were announcing that the 3DS eShop was closing down. Another purchase on Amazon where they've sent me a copy in a different language without it stating that on the page. As you can see, they've stuck a sticker on it saying plays in English, but again, I had considered returning this one, but it was relatively hard to find at the time. I thought I'll just keep this sealed copy, even though it's not an English cover. And then we have the final normal boxed 3DS game that I have, and it's Yokai Watch 3, and again, this is one of the more valuable games on the system. This really started to get a massive buzz around it in around the eShop closing as well. The prices started to go up exponentially at that point, so it's worth around £135 at the moment. So that is an opened copy, but sealed, obviously it would be worth a hell of a lot more than that, and I believe it's worth quite a bit more in the United States in the US dollar as well. But Yokai Watch 3, it's great just to have a game of that kind of value. Okay, so just before I get on to the big boxed or kind of collector's editions that we have, just showing off a couple of loose cartridges that I have here. So this one is a Yokai Watch game. I think it's maybe a crossover title from Japan. Seen this on eBay going for a couple of pounds and picked it up. Didn't really ever look too far into it, but I thought, seeing I'd got the other Yokai Watch games that were available, I would pick up whatever this is that was released in Japan. Then we have two little unique cartridges here. This is something I've always kind of meant to get into, and these are not for resale games. So the first one that we have here is Steel Diver. So what these are demo unit games that were put in kind of kiosks so that people could try out these games on the 3DS. So the Steel Diver one, and it has that sticker on the back, not for resale, demo only, property of Nintendo, and a little barcode. So these are supposed to be returned to Nintendo at the end of their kind of run in the kiosks, but obviously inevitably some of them sneak out. And we have Mario 3D Land. No such sticker on the back of this one, but a little barcode to identify it. This one I have played as well, so it is really just the first level of Super Mario 3D Land, and I remember actually playing that one in a store at the time before the game came out, and being really excited about it, so it's really cool to have that little bit of history. Okay, so not exactly big box games, but these are a couple of unique titles. Pokemon Gold version. So what this is a cardboard case with a download code within it. I'll just zoom out slightly so you can see a bit more of that. And this kind of mimics the Game Boy Color case for Pokemon Gold. I've put these in plastic kind of protectors. I have used the code on these though. at the time, but yeah, kept the box in really good condition because it is a little collector's item. It's obviously a blank a blank box, but I just love the way it mimics the style of the Game Boy Color game, and I actually had gold at the time. And again, this is the same thing, only the silver version of the game. Again, I've kept these in really good condition. Next, I have a few steelbooks to look at. I'm showing these in order of how much I like them. So this was the steelbook for Omega Ruby. And I remember just thinking this is very cool at the time, because it's not something that you would normally get, would be steelbooks for handheld consoles. So it was really cool to get some of these on the 3DS. That one's really nice, but it's not my favorite. The next one that I have, Majora's Mask. This came in the collector's edition of Majora's Mask. This one's amazing. The mask itself there, not too much going on the back of this one, but just having the embossed mask on the front really just elevates this one. Nothing on the spine either. And then my favourite of the bunch is this one for Metroid. And my favourite of the bunch is this one, which mimics the Game Boy cartridge for Metroid 2, Return of Samus. This is awesome. Whoever came up with the idea for putting this on the steelbook. I love even the back of it. It just has the way the original game case was for the Game Boy. Yeah, really, really cool idea. And whoever's idea it was to do that, nothing on the inside. Yeah, a genius. Next up, and this is the first of the kind of big boxed collection, we have the Tui collection. This was the first limited run games 3DS game, and at the time I thought it was going to be the only 3DS game that they would be releasing, but no, they have since done a few more. This is the kind of collector's edition. It did come in a standard edition, I believe, as well, but had to pick this up, even though I don't intend to open it up anytime soon. I have got some of these games digitally or on the Switch now, but yeah, cool collector's item to have. So on with the big boxed games. This is probably my most valuable 3DS game. So on to the big boxed 3DS games. I've already showed off the individual carts for these, but this is probably my most valuable 3DS game then, the Fire Emblem Fates Limited Edition. I'll just show the boxes for these quickly. I'm not going to open them up. If you do want me to do a kind of in-depth look at any of these, we can do that. Next up we have the Metroid Samus Returns big box. This is the one that contained the steelbook that we've just shown. And hopefully if this all fits in camera, you will see you have a few different items here, as well as a kind of morph ball keyring and a few different things. So again, really cool that they were doing collector's editions at the time for the 3DS. It's not something a handheld always gets, but very cool to have that. Then we have Chibi Robo Ziplash. This is the one that came with the amiibo. I have obviously taken the amiibo out of the box though. And this is the box I mentioned earlier for Hyrule Warriors Legends. It comes with this kind of compass. Quite a cool box for a game that didn't run particularly well and wasn't particularly well received. The collector's edition for it is still really cool. And the final item I have to show is the Resident Evil Revelations collector's edition. This came with the 3DS Circle Pad Pro. Circle Pad Pro was released kind of release day along with this. So it was the the perfect way to get the new game and get the Circle Pad Pro at the same time. And there's nothing else fancy in this box. It just came with a boxed edition of the game itself, and then obviously the Circle Pad Pro. So thank you very much for watching this far. If you've got this far, even if you've just skipped to the end, I really do appreciate it. And now I'm going to show the full value of this 3DS collection and answer the question I posed at the start, which was, am I going to consider selling this entire 3DS collection? So total number of games, this came in on price charting at 177 games. As I said there's a few doubles that I have that I didn't include. There are a few games that price charting didn't have any information on. So I think it's the actual figure sitting around 180 or so games, so 180. So a fair amount of 3DS games. Now, in terms of the value, let me just check this. Drum roll, please. So the value, and this is in pounds, we have, so it's £4,983.61, which is insane. And if I look at that in dollars, that comes to around $6,401.95. So the collection is worth a fair amount, as you can see. And answering that question, is it something I'm considering selling? Well, as you know, the 3DS is very easily hacked. The 3DS system can get basically any game on it that you want for free. But I do still see the value in having the physical cartridges. They bring me a lot of joy, as you can tell from going through the collection. I have a lot of memories about where I was, the kind of enjoyment I got out of the games. And there are still plenty that I haven't yet got to try out. So it's a tough one. It's a really tough one. I think at the moment I could probably use that money to do a lot of different things, but it's maybe worth sitting on, getting some more enjoyment out of these games, trying out the ones that I haven't done yet, and then somewhere down the line selling it maybe when something pops up and the money is needed. But let me know below what your favorite games on the 3DS are. Let me know any titles that you think I'm missing that I should pick up, or any of the ones I haven't tried that you have. Let me know your thoughts on them and which ones I should get to first. And let me know whether you think I should sell the collection or not. So there should be a fair amount to discuss in the comments if you want to sound off below. I'd really appreciate it, and I'll try and write back to everyone. But thank you so much for watching. I know this is a massive length video. I hope you enjoyed seeing the cartridges anyway, and getting to the bottom of the price of the entire collection, and maybe give you an idea of how much your collection is also worth. So thanks very much, and I'll see you guys in the next one.